When we first look at an article, we do a couple things that I call getting oriented. That starts with reading the abstract, which you might do without really thinking about it. The other thing that's helpful is identifying the focus of the article, so we know the variables and what the authors are interested in. We'll copy and paste the abstract from the articles into the worksheet, so we have that information to refresh our memory when we look at our notes. Using paste special is helpful when we copy information from articles because the formatting is a little less chaotic that way. You'll still have the line breaks from the PDF file and an odd character or two, like the 1/4 instead of the equal sign. I find that cleaning that up a little bit, though, helps me make sure I'm really thinking about the information in the abstract. That cleaning up process seems to be related to thinking for students, too. If you haven't already done so, please pause this recording to open your files for the Burton and King article, the PDF of the article itself, and the Word file with the worksheet. Then, copy and paste the title and abstract into the first section of the worksheet and read the abstract. We can use our knowledge of APA style to learn more about the author's focus in designing the study without having to read all of the article. I include this step in the worksheet because it helps us know how the authors are trying to add to our knowledge. The structure of the introduction section of an APA-style manuscript is usually a little bit like a funnel. It starts with a broad idea and gets more focused as it goes along, so the last paragraph explains how the ideas relate to the specific study presented in the method. Knowing that helps us know what we should be able to learn about the author's focus by skimming the last paragraph of the introduction section. APA style also encourages authors to summarize the findings of the study at the beginning of the discussion section, so the first paragraphs of that section also often restate the hypothesis or research question. When we skim those paragraphs, we can look for key words that signal what the authors are interested in. They might use all or some of the words I included in this slide. As you're looking for the information, make sure to skim or read the entire paragraph, and if the section doesn't end, look at the next paragraph too. Studies are frequently based on more than one question or hypothesis. The formatting of the Journal of Research and its personality helps it make it even easier to find the focus. It includes a heading with the words predictions on page 153 of the article, or page 4 of the PDF file. Burton and King provide both a goal and a hypothesis, signaled by the phrase, "we predicted that." The goal is usually more broad than the hypothesis. In this case, the goal includes the more general variable names, and the prediction, or the hypothesis, specifies how the variables will be operationalized. I highlighted the variables and operationalizations in different colors in this slide to help identify them and point out that they appear in both places. Your article worksheet can summarize the goal and hypothesis like the model in this slide. In this section, it's also okay to copy and paste from the article. Please pause the recording and finish this section of the Burton and King worksheet before looking at the next example. The Hearst article provides another example of the wording and formatting we might see when we're looking for the author's focus. This article is quite a bit different from the others we'll look at too, so it helps us to think about the different types of data we use in psychology. If you haven't already opened the files and added the abstract to your Hearst worksheet, please pause the recording and do that before moving on. It's a little trickier to find the paragraph that explains the focus of this article because they didn't use the broad and narrow structure as clearly as some articles do. They do use the phrase "the purpose" to start the second paragraph, though, and they start a sentence in the last paragraph of the introduction section with that phrase. The fact that they presented the information in two places is a good reminder to keep skimming after you find the information the first time. In addition to presenting additional questions or hypotheses, authors sometimes elaborate on their purpose later, like Hearst and colleagues do. The information in the last paragraph is a little more detailed, so that's the version I used in the notes in this worksheet. The authors identify the same variable as the focus of the study in both places, and they're only focusing on one variable, college student stressors. This article is a little different because it doesn't just highlight the topic they'll focus on and what they hope to learn, but also the method. They'll be looking at qualitative research, which we learned about in Chapter 1. Sometimes the information we're looking for seems a little hidden in the article. In those cases, it's really helpful to have the electronic files. All of the articles we use in this class are available electronically, but in some situations, researchers still have to go to the library and make a paper copy of the article. That said, when we have the electronic version, we can use the Find function in Acrobat Reader or in a web browser. In most software, holding down the Control key on the keyboard and the F key at the same time opens the box to find text on the page or in the document. If you're using a Mac, you'll use the Command key anytime I mention Control. Now, please pause the recording and practice what you've learned by finding the focus of the Schifrin and Nelson study. Then, start the recording to check your work. The Schifrin and Nelson article gives us another example of how authors present their focus. The current study heading on page 35 might have helped you find the hypothesis. Given that the introduction section ended with that, you might have used the keyword search or just skimmed a little more and found the questions in the previous paragraph. Those questions help us understand a little bit more about why the authors are interested in the relationship between stress and happiness, so they're helpful to include in our notes. The hypothesis and questions also all include the same two variables, stress and happiness. While the authors don't really explain it, the hypothesis suggests that they think the answers to the research question is that happiness and stress are on a single continuum, so it's not possible to be happy and be stressed at the same time. Your worksheet should include notes along these lines. The examples not only provide practice, but also highlight that each article is going to be a little bit different. APA style helps us know where to look, and knowing the keywords helps us find the specific information. If you're stuck, you can use the search function to look for keywords in the file. Sometimes you might need to think of alternative words the authors might have used. If that doesn't work, read the first couple paragraphs of the discussion. APA style encourages authors to summarize the results in the context of the question or in the hypothesis.